Earlier this week, Qantas grounded 3 of its Boeing 737 aircraft after cracks were found in the planes. Joining me live now is aviation commentator Byron Bailey. Byron, thanks for your time this morning.
Yes, good afternoon, Charlotte.
Byron, the airline engineers, they're calling for all 3 737NG aircraft to be grounded. Is this reasonable?
No, it's totally unreasonable. This particular union, not part of Qantas, I think they had an agenda, and they targeted Qantas, calling for 737NGs to be grounded. They didn't mention Virgin, and the 7,000 of these NGs worldwide flying. No one else is calling for them to be grounded, so I think it was purely a political statement. And on this, the FAA has required operators of Boeing NG 737s to inspect aircraft over 22,600 cycles within the next 1,000 cycles, which probably would take at least another 6-7 months. But Qantas should be commended. They've done it all straight away of their 33 aircraft that were over 22,600 cycles. So they found 3 with these tiny hairline cracks on around 1 bolt of 8 bolts holding these 4 pickle forks that hold the wing to the fuselage.
Okay.
And
so on that
they're not
fact,
load-bearing structures.
Right. So
Sorry?
I wanted to get to that. So is it an overreaction? Like, how compromised is passenger safety by these tiny hairline cracks? I mean, obviously we have to take every precaution in this situation, but how serious is it?
Look, I think it was a gross overreaction. These tiny little hairline cracks that have occurred on 1 bolt around the 8 that hold the wing and the fuselage together. And the pickle forks are not load-bearing structures. They're basically just holding the wing and the fuselage together. But in flight, you've got the wing pushing up and the fuselage pushing down because of weight. I think it all started a couple of months ago when an ex-Jet Airways, it's an Indian Airlines, high time, 33,000-hour cycle, Boeing 737 was being converted to a freighter in China, and they discovered 1 little hairline crack. So they notified Boeing, and who notified the FAA. But that aircraft may have been subjected to some fairly heavy landings. So we don't know what's caused the cracks. It could be that, perhaps there was a batch of poorly manufactured pickle forks, or, but there's been a gross overreaction.
Byron, earlier this year, Boeing 737 Max 8s, they were grounded across the world after fatal crashes in Ethiopia and also Indonesia. The company has barely left the headlines this year. How damaging can this be to its reputation?
Yeah, this is really kind of sad. Boeing is being targeted with this NG problem purely because its association with the Max. I'd point out that 4 months ago, several high-time Airbus A380s were discovered with cracks in the outer rear spar of their wings. Hardly anything was said about that. And I think Boeing is just, unfortunately, in the gun at the moment. But it'll all eventually be resolved by next year, I hope.
Are the issues that we saw in the fatal crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia, are they at all similar to the issues that we've seen in these ones?
Nothing, no, not at all. Nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Right. But obviously, Boeing would be taking a serious look at itself and its procedures. Could this be related to cost-cutting or trying to move the aircraft through the production too quickly?
Yeah, the Max situation was that they tried to do it all too fast without proper testing, and they went cheap with only 1 sensor, didn't tell the pilots. They're sorting all this out. And really, the actual aircraft, the Boeing 737 Max, flew quite well. It was just unfortunate that we had this sensor malfunction that caused the crashes, and the pilots were not properly trained. That couldn't happen now with the way they have modified the software. They've included 2 sensors, and pilots are being required now to do a proper training course on the Max. So I think the Max will eventually end up being a very safe aeroplane indeed.
Do you think that Boeing can survive this and come back from it?
Oh, absolutely. I was speaking with a Boeing rep just last week, and you've got to realise Boeing is just too big to fail. Nearly half of its business is not airlines, it's in defence, missiles, all kinds of technology. So, and I'm sure the US government would step in to prevent it failing anyway. The sad thing is, though, that in the last quarter, Boeing has lost $3 billion, its shares on the stock market. So it is undergoing a bit of a bad time.
Yeah, Byron, definitely not a good year for Boeing, but hopefully they will be improving throughout the next 12 months. Thanks for your time this morning.
Most welcome.